Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Monday morning the 10th of February. So we're talking about the Delphi case today. I haven't talked about Delphi for a few days, so checking in with something that has been puzzling me. I'm really confused at the moment about Delphi. I don't know what to think. So that's what we're going to talk about. Did Ron Logan really murder the girls? And did he take that secret to his grave? But what about the Odinists? Where do they factor in? Because we've talked about them for so long. I find it difficult to drop that theory. So I'm just going to present both sides and see what you think. But before I do, let me just give you a couple of announcements. Day 5 of the Megan Boswell trial is happening today. I will be live from 8:30 a.m. Eastern, with the jury being in and the court due to start proper at 9 a.m. But Judge Goodwin opens the court early. So I'll be live from 8:30 Eastern, which is 1:30 p.m. my time, and then whatever that is in your local time. When I put the scheduler up, it will tell you what time it begins in your local time. Secondly, if you think that the conviction and the sentence against Richard Allen is bad, well, we've got one here in the UK, which is potentially another miscarriage of justice, and that is the quote-unquote killer nurse, Lucy Letby. So I'm starting a series about this. I don't know whether Lucy is factually guilty or not, honestly. It's another case where I don't know what to think. So I'm just going to be presenting information that's coming out in the public domain over the next few videos in that series, and I'm going to let you decide. I genuinely do not know. There's a lot of evidence against Lucy Letby being a killer, or anybody killing the little babies that died between 2015 and 2016. It's a really difficult one. It really is. But yeah, go and check out that series if you're interested in another potential miscarriage of justice. But without further ado, let's get into the Delphi case. Take it away, Andy.
It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
Before an angry Andrew Baldwin left the courthouse, 13 News overheard him speaking to Richard Allen's wife, saying, "It ain't over. The world's watching. The world sees what's going on."
So one thing that I am sure of in this case now is that the state's theory of Richard Allen being the killer because he wanted to essay the girls and he got disturbed by Brad Webber's van, and then he took them from the south side to the north side of the creek. He dropped an unspent round between their bodies. He slashed their throats because he panicked. It all comes from this most damaging confession that he gave to Dr. Monica Waller, his psychologist, on May 3rd, 2023. And it's nonsense. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because Brad Webber's van didn't get there between 2:27 and 2:30 as the state needed it to be, because there is a camera at the Sandifer's house, and that showed Brad Webber arriving on the private drive at 2:44. And given Libby's phone data, the girls would have already been dead by then, because this is Libby's phone data, based on how far the phone travelled, again presented by the state. So the state's own theory doesn't work against the evidence that they presented about Libby's phone. Now, we do know that these figures are just approximate. In one recent experiment I did, I found that my iPhone 6, compared with Strava and my iPhone 12, overestimated the distance travelled by about 13%. But also, in a more recent experiment that I did, the iPhone 6 also gave a completely different result than the iPhone 12. So we have to take these figures loosely. It's approximate. So it could be 10, 13, 15, even 20% out, either way. But it's a good guide. Figures aside, the reason why this cannot work to convict Rick Allen is because this 414 metres, whether it's 500 metres, whether it's 350 metres, let's just say, had to have happened after the phone stopped moving for 7 minutes. We talked about that a lot. However, the motion to correct errors that the defence put out a couple of weeks ago now details a confession that Ron Logan made in May 2017, just 3 months after the murders, when he and another inmate, Reese Davis, were in Newcastle Correctional Facility. And Reese Davis called in the tip line in May 2017 because Ron Logan had confessed to the Delphi murders. So we've talked about this, that Ron Logan met them. We know this is consistent with Ron Logan's phone data that was in the FBI search warrant of Ron Logan's property that was dated 17th of March 2017, that he met the girls on the bridge. He walked with them. He said, "Do you want to come and see some animals?" And at first they agreed. So presumably they started walking back to his place. Then Libby got paranoid. She didn't want to go. She stopped. They got into an altercation. She hit him on the nose, good on her. But we know that he has a temper. And he lashed out with his box cutter. An item that only the killer would know. The medical examiner at Rick Allen's trial said that the wounds on the girls' necks could have been caused by a box cutter. What are the odds? What are the odds? This is a confession from May 2017. What are the odds that a medical examiner would bring that up at the trial of Rick Allen in November 2024? What are the odds? I ask you, what are the odds? But he took Abby with him, didn't kill her. So where did he take her? How long did he keep her? When did Abby die? She died in a very different way than Libby. But when did she die? But in relation to this phone data, it does make more sense. Ron Logan's theory does fit. If he met them somewhere on the bridge, they had to go this way, like down the hill, through the woods here, across the creek, and then start going up this hill, rather than going all the way around via this trail. Because that's far too long, even with the inaccuracy in the iPhone 6S taken into consideration. That's a much longer way than going this way. This way fits better. If they were starting to go up the hill and an altercation occurred, and then Libby ran off, he chased her, she got to this point, and that's where the altercation occurred. That kind of fits, except for this 2 floors climb should have happened here. So it's still not exact, but it makes more sense than Rick Allen's confession and trying to compare that to this data. But what about the Odinists? We've talked a lot about the Odinists. Andy Baldwin is very, very committed to the Odinist theory. He wrote the Franks motion, the thing that absolutely blew the case apart when it was released on September 18th, 2023. It blew the case apart, and the state had to act, and they acted in the most horrendous of ways by getting Judge Gull to disqualify Brad Rosie and Andrew Baldwin. It held up the trial. It was ridiculous. We know all of that. The Odinist theory is very compelling. There was a big focus on Brad Holder in the Franks, and we know that Brad Holder's son was dating Abby, and I've kind of thought, well, was Logan Holder used as like a bait? Doesn't necessarily mean that Logan was involved. Brad Holder could have contacted the girls pretending to be Logan, using Logan's phone or Logan's social media account. So I've kind of thought that Holder maybe wasn't one of the killers because he had an alibi for that afternoon. He was at work apparently. But what about later? And Elvis Fields, of course, confessed. And he confessed to his sister before it was even known that the girls had been murdered. And he had a blue coat. that he tried to palm off on her. And the sticks. Why would Ron Logan put these sticks on the girls? As far as we know, he's not an Odinist. So why would he put these strange arrangement of sticks on the girls? Why would he do that? What if the girls were taken away and brought back later? I had an alternate theory that this is accurate. This takes them to the end of the bridge, down the hill to the private drive, and then a short walk to a vehicle. Then the phone doesn't move because they're in a vehicle. And 7 minutes, well, that gives you just enough time to get to Patrick Westfall's house. And then the 50 metres or a little bit more, a little bit less, walk from the vehicle to the building, wherever they were taken. And then the phone registers 2 floors climbed because they went upstairs. That really fits. But there's no evidence that the girls were taken away from the scene. But if they were taken away from the scene on the south side of the bridge, they wouldn't have been caught on the camera at the Hoosier Harvest store. So it's completely the other side of the bridge. They could have been taken away and no one would have known. What confuses me is that there's evidence that the Odinists had involvement in this. But also, that confession by Ron Logan is very compelling. And I can't seem to reconcile the two. I know it's been said that Ron Logan knew Brad Holder or Patrick Westfall. Maybe you knew Patrick Westfall because Westfall lived in Delphi at the time of the murders. But was Ron Logan involved in the Odinists? I kind of feel that if Ron Logan did it, he did it alone. Like his confession makes sense for him to have done it alone. Or did he murder Libby? And then Abby was taken away and she was taken to the Odinists. And she was sacrificed. I don't know, guys. I'm trying to reconcile all of this in my head. But one thing I am sure of is that Rick Allen is so far down the list of potential killers. I can't put into words how much of a miscarriage of justice I feel that this is. But who was the actual killer? We have 2 much more probable theories here. Ron Logan on one hand, the Odinists on the other. Possible connection, I don't know. But one thing's for absolutely sure. What nonsense the state came out with that the jury believed against Rick Allen just does not work based on their own evidence. That is so shockingly sad. But let me know what you think about this in the comments. What do you think? Odinists, Ron Logan, or someone else completely? Let me know. And hopefully I'll see you later if you're following the Megan Boswell trial. Come and join me from 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Bye for now, guys.